Good morning, folks. This is David Peace Monroe, Marilyn Monroe's nephew. Only on Jess TV, the Marilyn Monroe Show, every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can type in and Google the show at jessfm.ca, www.jessfm.ca, SSH 101, and you can pick that up on Facebook Live on Facebook. It can also be live streamed on Roku TV, Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, Meta TV, and the NCG Television Network in Lethbridge, Canada. A tremendous project with global distribution. Rated the #1 cable television program in Lethbridge, Canada. A tremendous project with global distribution. And, you know, you're here live with me, David Peace Monroe, Marilyn Monroe's nephew, actor, soundtrack, and also the grandson of Jack Stubbs, prolific, pioneering, Hall of Fame, legendary motion picture director. Best of friends with Walt Disney and Elizabeth Taylor's manager, giving you greats as Caesar and Cleopatra with Elizabeth Taylor. And today on the show, I've got my fabulous Texas Rising superstar actor-producer, Michael Edenbaum. Let's welcome Michael Edenbaum to the show, folks.
Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate being here.
And gosh, you know, Mike, you're a busy guy, man. You've got all types of projects down there in the Texas film industry in that great state of Texas. It's booming down there with production in the state of Texas. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 projects we're going to be talking about today. I'd like to start out, Mike, with your life's journey, how that developed into your acting career, how you blossomed into a fabulous actor and a producer, and how you're working on 6 projects now in the great state of Texas.
Well, thank you, David. That's a great tee-up. I appreciate it. I grew up in Dallas, Texas. I was actually born in Fort Worth, but I grew up in Dallas. My entire life, was kind of based on, I had a creative urge. And, when I was a kid, I used to watch movies very differently than most other kids. I would notice the angle of the camera, the lighting, that sort of thing. I got obsessed with shows like The Twilight Zone. And that's really the beginning, the spark that got me excited about that industry. I remember watching a Twilight Zone episode, actually 2, that were really stuck. One of them was Robert Redford. That was one of his first roles. He played the Angel of Death on one of the Twilight Zone episodes. And another one was an episode that took place in Dachau, a concentration camp. And I remember having a discussion with somebody saying, no, that was a Hollywood studio. But if you watch the episode at the end, it says actually filmed in Dachau. So those kind of shows really, really stuck with me. Ended up kind of fast forwarding quite a bit. I ended up working for a company in Dallas. It was in the communications side. And I got to work with Sharon Pollock, who is the sister of Sidney Pollock.
Yeah.
Directed Redford in a few films, Out of Africa, several films. So that's and so I got a lot of background on, the industry and that sort of thing. But, it's kind of like that little kid that wanted to be an astronaut, but it just seems completely unrealistic. And I really thought I would have a shot. I did get into a movie when I was about 25, and I played a counterfeit art dealer. And it was a very small, low-budget, micro-budget indie film I shot in Dallas. And then I got into sales. I was in sales my entire career, from IT to the music industry, and I was a director of sales. And wherever I went, I used to hang out. My 2 best friends, both female, I hang out with them in the industry or in the and one of my friends said to me, wherever you go, people say, who you like? And sometimes it's a neighbor or an actor or whatever. She said, why don't you get an agent and maybe do commercial? And I thought that was going to be the extent of it. So I did get an agent. I did a background role in a coffee commercial, and that was really the beginning. That was about a little less than 3 years ago. And since then, fast forward to now, I've been cast in 22 to 23 movies, 8 series, some commercials, and I'm just living a dream. I cannot believe this is actually happening to me. So that's kind of a long answer to your short question.
That's absolutely fabulous, Mike. My grandfather did a lot of television shows back then as well. He was pioneer in the motion picture industry. You know, he did Maverick with James Garner, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, the top secret nuclear submarine that would discover sea monsters and things. The $6 Million Man with Lee Majors, Andre the Giant, The Bionic Woman, The Invisible Man. Gosh, you know, he was the creator of a bunch of TV shows as well. Did any of those inspire you? You recollect my grandfather's work. He was the godfather of the Marvel Universe. And just real quick, I wanted to reiterate that my grandfather is the godfather of the Marvel Universe, and that he created and developed the very first Captain American television show in the history of the franchise. And that was developed by a fellow by the name of Reb Brown, who my grandfather kept seeing for 2 years on Hollywood and Sunset, parading up and down in front of the Men's Chinese Theater in a Captain America's uniform and a shield, acting like Captain America. My grandfather called me honey. He says, you know, I saw that guy out there for like 2 years. And he says, that guy really inspired me. He says, you know what, light bulb struck in my head. He says, I'm going to go out and get that guy, and we're going to do a Captain America film. And that is how the Marvel Universe was given birth from comic strip to film. You know, there was a couple of other ones, a black and white one in 1934, and then another one that weren't successful. They didn't get ratings or many views. So the very first successful Captain America was my grandfather's 1978 with Reb Brown. That was also a television show. So you have a project upcoming. It's called Dovey's Promise. Let's tell the folks about your Dovey's Promise.
Yeah, that was a movie that wrapped. You can actually watch it on Amazon Prime right now. True story about Dubby Roundtree, and she's an African-American attorney in 1964. She defended a young black man accused of killing JFK's last mistress, Mary Pinchot Meyer. And I played one of the DOJ prosecutors in that. And, you know, when you have a true story, at least that inspiring, it's a real privilege to be in a film like that. And it was a very intense shoot. There was a lot of, you know, realistic dialogue within the courtroom. So I had a really, really, you know, fabulous time on that. And it's a very, very powerful movie. You can imagine the racism back in the 60s. And the fact that she won this case is a story that everybody should watch, because a lot of people have never heard of this. So yeah, Dovey's Promise, available on Amazon Prime now. It's a very, very powerful.
That's absolutely fabulous. So they can purchase that on Amazon Prime, buy a ticket to that. So when you watch this, you can go right to Dovey's Promise and watch that film on Amazon Prime. We want people to buy tickets to that, and that's a fabulous project there that is readily available on Amazon Prime. Just a quick station identification break, folks. My name is David Monroe, Marilyn Monroe's nephew, with the morning show, the Marilyn Monroe Show on Jess TV, jessfm.ca, www.jessfm.ca, ssh101.com. You can live stream that on Roku TV, Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, Meta TV, and the NCG Television Network in Lethbridge, Canada. Tremendous project with global distribution. And so, Mike, gosh, it's really exciting, you know, to have you on the show and all these projects you have coming up. Let's, you know, talk about your project In God's Hands. I believe you just wrapped that, and that's in post-production. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. Yeah, that's a film that, you know, as an actor, you don't want to get typecast into one kind of character. So it was a real treat. I actually got to play the friendly face of the cartel child trafficking ring. And it was you know, it was a pretty intense role. And it's something that I think is going to be inspiring when you see the film and it really is an inspirational film. That should be out. It goes through the distributor, I'd say probably within a couple of months. And again, that's called In God's Hands, from a director, Cindy, here out of Texas. So yeah, look for that one coming out soon.
Okay, yeah, that's brings awareness to what's going on our planet today. You know, with all these child sex trafficking rings. You know, when I was growing up as a kid, you know, something like that happened, people would talk about it for 5 or 6 years from just one incident. And that's a rampant crime that goes on in our society at large today. So I believe that's important to raise awareness to people through that project.
Yes.
So number 3 is great. What I'm really looking forward to seeing, and by producer Chris Sagler, who I had on the show about 7 or 8 months ago. I had Chris in an interview on Anderson County. That's about a poacher that killed a game warden in Palestine, Texas. That's also based on true events as well. These are all true event films, which is great for views and ratings for any network. It's very captivating. People love this kind of stuff. People are looking for. So let's talk about Anderson County.
Yeah, that's going to be a very, very big film. It's one of those films where the entire town, they're all aware because we've been shooting it, for quite a while, and they have just rolled out the red carpet to help in any way they can. Again, it's all based on true events. A town in 1951 where you've got a black poacher and a white game warden, a guy named Gus Engling, and it divided the town. It's not one of those films where it's no pun intended, a black and white story. It's two families trying to take care of their family. And so it's, depending on where you look at this film, it kind of leaves a lot to interpretation. And I'll tell you what, it's Chris Stiegler is he's the person that's doing this film. And it's very great. I played the agent in the city. Again, all true story. And
Chris is rocking, isn't he? This is the biggest independent time era film piece.
Yes.
That's being filmed in the state of Texas currently, and it's got what do you guys got about 4 months left in filming of that before it goes into post.
Absolutely, and the historical commission is really helping. We've got all of these vintage cars, airplanes. When you watch this film, you're not going to think it's a small indie film. It's going to look like a $10 million Hollywood film. And I think, when you watch the acting and the emotion in this, talked about being on the cartel side as an actor, and then I go to the opposite side where I'm very much a stand-up guy, with the ethics and doing the right thing. And, when you watch it, knowing all of this is actually true, and the detail making it correct, era correct, 1951 is pretty amazing. And it reminds me, when Chris and I were talking about it, it reminds me a little bit of Old Country for No Country for Old Men. And, the Coen brothers kind of film where it's just so in the way it's shot. And I love the Coen brothers. So when he told me that, it's like, okay, you got me. I'm in. So they're filming actually this weekend. I think I've got another scene coming up next month. Oh, yes, Anderson County will be in theaters probably sometime, maybe mid next year, a little after. But that is one to look for. I think people are going to be blown away.
Yeah, it's absolutely fabulous, man. It's going to be a great project predicated on true events of, game warden that was murdered by a poacher back during that time. I believe Chris showed me they've even got a statue enshrinement of that poacher. Right. And I was shocked to find out that 100 poachers a year throughout the United States get killed in the line of duty. It's 100, isn't it? 100 a year, or is it 1,000? No, it's 1,000. 1,000 poachers fed. Well, I stand corrected. 1,000 poachers a year get killed each year in line of duty. So imagine being a game warden, having to go out and protect wildlife, and be surrounded by a bunch of hunters with 30-aught sixes and things, and you're by yourself.
It's really it's a story that has many, many layers because it's, this is a poacher, yes, but it's a guy that's just trying to feed his family. It's not a bank robber. It's not somebody going out and, doing some horrific things. He's trying to take care of his family. And this is just one of those where you look at it, you see, you can kind of see the story behind each of the families. and then how powerful it is, how people make assumptions right away. So the story is so true. It really does show you both sides of the story, and the rush to judgment where, when you hear the whole story, you kind of second think a lot of this. So again, it's very, very well done, creative filmmaking. And I'm just so honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, that Anderson County, it kind of reminds me of my grandfather's film, the 1971 film, Tora, Tora, Tora. They used Japanese Zeros and planes that were loaded down with bombs and gasoline with which to create a tremendous explosion when they were shot out. Yeah. So that kind of reminds me of, a period piece, that's, you guys, all the old trucks and airplanes and things that they used back in the day. So yeah, really went out of his way to make a great film in that, and to produce it, to make it appear as it is during that time, that period piece. So he's done very well on that, and I'm looking forward to that project. And just a quick station identification break, Mike. Again, my name is David Peace Monroe. I'm Marilyn Monroe's nephew. Morning show, Marilyn Monroe Show on Jess TV, live on Facebook, or you can Google jessfm.ca, www.jessfm.ca, ssh101.com. That can be live streamed on Roku TV, Meta TV, Android TV, Fire TV, Apple TV, and the NCG Television Network in Lethbridge, Canada. A tremendous project for global distribution. And so that, the W's Promise is available on Amazon Prime. We've got In God's Hands that's in post that you wrapped. 4 months left on Anderson County. And then we've got this other project that, psychological thriller, Dead Wives Club. Is that right, Michael? Want to tell them a little bit about that?
That's going to be a fun one. Every once in a while, if you're lucky as an actor, you come across a script that is just, I keep referencing Coen Brothers, but it's one of those ones that is so original. And I was speaking at an event, and when I walked off stage, this was about a couple of months ago, Donnie Price, who is the creator of Dead Wives Club, came up to me and he said, "You're Will." And I said, "No, I'm Michael." And he said, No, you're the character that I've been looking for. And he gave me the pitch. And I think my jaw literally, I don't mean this as a joke, my jaw dropped when he gave me the last line of the pitch. And it's like, I am waiting for a script like this. And when you combine the creativity of Fargo, Coen Brothers, Breaking Bad, and Alfred Hitchcock, and put it all into one package, it's like, I just have not seen anything like this. I can't even remember actually the last time I saw a script like this. So it's one of those ones. We're shooting the pilot at the end of this month. We've already had a very big high executive at one of the top entertainment companies on planet Earth. Donnie pitched him and sent him the pitch deck, and he said, "I want to see the pilot as soon as you're done." So we've already got a bite on the line as far as interest. And it's a series that I see becoming a series that every single episode will leave you maybe 2 to 3 times during that episode thinking or saying out loud, "I did not see that coming." And just like Breaking Bad, you get to the very end and you just can't wait to see the next episode. And every episode is almost like a new film. I see this thing, it could literally go on for years. It's got that much meat behind it. And it's something that I'm really excited about. If you want, David, I can kind of give you the very quick elevator pitch on it, or we can leave it as a mystery till.
No, sure, you can do that. I'm pumped. It's interesting that you mentioned the psychological thriller, and similar to Fargo, Breaking Bad, and Alfred Hitchcock. My grandmother was best friends with Tippi Hedren from The Birds that Alfred Hitchcock created back in the day. And then when you talk about Breaking Bad, Louis Moncada, the hitman in Breaking Bad, is a friend of mine. Whenever I'm in Simi Valley, California, I go work out with him in the gym. So it's absolutely fabulous. So I'm looking forward to that psychological thriller that is, similar to those different projects. Yeah, go ahead and let's give us the elevator pitch on that, Mike. That sounds great. Go for it, brother.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep a lot of it to myself because you don't want to give away too much. But I will say the beautiful thing about this, it's not dumbed down for the audience. It lets the audience really kind of. It's something that I really love. When people dumb it down, it's like you lose interest. If you can figure out, a third or halfway through an episode where it's going, then in my mind, it's failing. So, it's just about a guy that's been, happily married for, quite a while, just your average Joe, and he starts seeing suspicious behavior in his wife. And he's thinking he's cheating. And if anybody out there has ever been cheated on, you know how that messes with your mind. And he starts to just, and he's talking to the bartender about his suspicions about his wife. And this stranger comes sitting there, and the stranger says, I think I can take care of your problem. One hand washes the other, and he drops a card in front of me. And I'm just staring straight ahead in the mirror at the bar, and I'm listening to this guy, and I look down at the card. The guy leaves, the stranger leaves. I finally decide to call it, and I call that number. He says, you agree to the terms? And I say, yes. He says, are you sure? Yes. And the next scene, you see me get this envelope in my mailbox. In the envelope, I pull out a picture of this attractive woman, and this little packet with a white pill falls out of the envelope. Next, you see me following the car. You think it's my wife, you don't know, and I'm following this car to a dance hall. I follow the attractive lady into the dance hall. She sits down with this guy, being very close, and I'm sitting there kind of watching visually. Remember, I'm a good guy, and I'm thinking, think about what I'm about to do. The woman gets up and goes to the restroom. I get up my nerve. I walk by her table, and I drop this white pill in her drink. Then I go into the bathroom, and I violently throw up once and again twice. And I'm thinking, what have I done? What have I done? And as I walk out of the bathroom in a cold sweat, hear in the background, call 911. And you know what just happened. And then I'm in my house, and I'm like, regurgitating everything that just took place. And I hear my wife's voice coming into the front door, and I hear that, and I'm thinking, this is it. I'm going to catch her red-handed. She with my best friend, and she looks at me and smiles, and he smiles. Oh my God, Bill, I'm so glad you're here. I know we've been acting strange these past few months, but we've been planning this big trip for me. And you see, like the old camera kind of coming in, and you could just read my mind. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. And, I make an excuse to go to the bathroom, and I'm frantically searching for the card that stranger gave me to call off the hit. Remember, one hand washes the other. So I have to do something in order for my problem to be taken care of. I call the number, and you report it. The number you dialed is now no longer in service. And that's how the first episode is. All after me. If I don't know who it is coming after my wife, who I now realize is not she. And then that's when the fun begins. And that's where it all takes off. So that's a quick pitch on it.
That's absolutely fabulous. Quick station identification break, Mike. Again, I'm David Peace Monroe, Marilyn Monroe's nephew, actor, soundtrack, television, cable television show host of the Marilyn Monroe Show, the morning show, only on Jess TV Live. Jess TV Live. You can pick that up on Roku TV, Apple TV, Android TV, Meta TV, the NCG Television Network in Lethbridge, Canada. You can also just type in Google jessfm.ca, www.jessfm.ca, ssh101.com. You pick that up 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every Sunday morning. The morning show, the Marilyn Monroe Show, with your host Dave Peace Monroe. And so so we talked about Dobie's Promise. that's available to rent on Amazon Prime now. People can buy tickets to your film. But in God's Hands, there's some Post, Anderson County with 4 more months left predicated, about 4 months left to be released next year. Dead Wives Club. And then we're going to talk about this comedy that you're going to be in, the Stickler Lake Resort, Mike, and that was created by Native Americans. Is that right? Let's tell the crowd about, and the fans out there, about Stickler Lake Resort project that you've got coming up. That sounds exciting as well. Another tremendous project in Texas.
Yeah, that one is, that kind of came at me out of the blue. This was somebody that I had worked with, who's now the executive producer. And we'll talk about the other project that I worked with him on. But yeah, it's comparable to Reservation Dog. If anybody's seen that, kind of a comedy that takes place in this Indian reservation out of, I believe, Oklahoma, and very much kind of like Parks and Recreation. I played in the resort once, created Native American, and you know, it's when you again, when you're an actor, to be able to play drama, comedy, you name it, you really, I'm so fortunate because this is going to be something that I'm going to have a lot of fun with. One of my best friends is going to be actually playing my wife, Misty McLemore, in that, and it's going to be a fun ride. It's going to be a family-friendly show, and it's going to be something that I think everybody is going to get a kick out of. So we start shooting that, I believe, in February of next year, and it'll go to distribution. I think it'll do very well. It's very creative writing, and so I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, that sounds great. You know, sitcom. You know, I've always loved Steve Martin and you know, Robin Williams. You know, Richard Pryor. Gosh, I mean, you know, those guys. You know, comedy is great, man. You know, so that's fabulous that you're so diversified, Mike. You know, you can go in and out of different genres, different characters. You know, different continuity with characters as well. Is very important. You know, my grandfather was Elizabeth Taylor's manager, and you know, she worked like 12 hours. Her work ethic was tremendous. She worked like 12 hours a day, and then 4 hours after, you know, being on set, she would go prepare for the next day. So she was working like 16-hour days, you know, whenever she was working on projects. So, you know, you're a hard worker like that, you know. So, gosh, it's
the thing about Stickler Lake that I really like, you know, again, comparable to Reservation Dogs, Parks and Recreation. And it's the ensemble cast comedy is something I really like. You know, when you look at like shows like The Office, and you've got reaction shots, and you know, it's just one of those with a, you know, handheld camera that really kind of brings the audience into the story. So I think everybody's really going to enjoy this, and it's got, you know, so much room to take it in so many different directions. So that should be out, like I say, shooting in February, and then go to distribution after that. And I'll certainly let you know where you can find it after that once it gets.
Yeah, that sounds like a rocking great hang, Mike. Absolutely. And so you have another project upcoming that's predicated on true events of Robbie Mitz, the writer of this project, entitled Stairway, and it's predicated on true life events of his family life during the Holocaust over in Austria. And that, you know, kind of touches base with me. You told me that when you went out and you saw some props and things that were going to be used in the movie, that it really was really close home, near and dear to your heart. And, you know, my great-grandmother, Violet Rhodes, she was from Austria as well.
Right.
And my great-grandfather, Oscar Theodore Jackman, painted a picture of her, his wife, in a white dress. And on a cherry letterwood desk that my sister still has that piece of furniture in Henderson, Nevada, where she lives. So we're going to try to get that for my biopic film, if I can get in touch with her. Anyhow, my great-grandfather painted an oil painting, a portrait of his wife, my great-grandmother Violet Rhodes, which would have been Marilyn Monroe's grandmother, in a white dress. And so when my grandfather Jack was working on the 1955 film, The 7-Year Itch, for director Billy Wildman, or Billy Wilder, who was from Austria as well. He's also Austrian, and my grandmother is from Austria. Now you're doing a show predicated on the true life history of Robbie Mitz's family from Austria. Interesting. So that white dress painting, oil painting, hung on the wall of my grandparents' home for many years, nearly our whole lives. That was my grandmother's mother. And so the 1955 film, The 7-Year Itch, my grandfather Jack was working in props. He was one of two prop makers, picking up wardrobe and dresses and things. And so Director Wilder asked me, he said, Jack, he says, what do you think about Marilyn? He thought of that oil painting of her grandmother, so in the white dress. And he told Director Wilder, he says, I think we should pick out a delightful white dress like her grandmother in that oil painting. Stand her on the prop in Manhattan, blow the dress up in the scene, showing her skin and legs, and drive the whole world bananas. And that's what they did. They said, Jack, that's a great idea. We're going to shoot that scene. Now go into wardrobe and pick out a dress. So that ideology was inspired by an oil painting of her grandmother in a white dress. So it comes from the lineage of our family. How fitting. And that's something that you could never tell. Only I could tell that because I'm the grandson of the family. I lived there in that house. Those were my grandparents. And so how great is that it's predicated in Austria, and all of my families, my grandmother, my mother's side, is from Austria. So, yeah. And that's where the Delicious Breeze came from, the most iconic scene in film history, if not the most viewed image in the world. I've traveled the country, Mike, from East Coast to West Coast 5 times in the last 3 or 4 years. And, you can't go into any town, a bar, a barber shop or something like that, where you don't see that picture. She's everywhere, you see. So, yeah, what a great deal. And so it's going to be film predicated on Robbie Mitz's family life, a true life biopic family perspective film about his family during the Holocaust, which was horrible. All in World War II. Well, let's tell the crowd about your Stairway project, Mike. That's kind of near and dear to me, near and dear to you. I believe you mentioned something about some props or some trains and things that you came across, and it made your heart beat real fast, and you kind of got weak in the knees, almost like you were there during that time.
Yeah.
So do you want to share that experience with the viewers?
Absolutely. This project has got a piece of my soul, more than I can really put into words, for a number of reasons. As you know, David, I lost my father about 6 months ago. And
Sorry, Mike.
This was the project he was most proud of. I think in a past life, my family, we had people that were in the Holocaust. And you're right, I went to a few Holocaust museums, Washington D.C. and New York, and when I saw Schindler's List, Spielberg's Mona Lisa, in my opinion, it's the only film that I've ever had a physical reaction where I literally could not stand up for 10 or 15 minutes in the theater after I saw it. I felt like I was watching home movies. And I know that sounds out there, but that was my experience. And when I went to these Holocaust museums and I would put my hand on that rail car, these pictures just flashed in my head. And I can't explain it. It was just like, I've been there. This was my life at some point. So when this project came along, and Robbie's also the executive producer on Stickler Lake Resort, he told me about the project. My father actually helped me with the audition. I had to master a Viennese accent, Vienna, Austria, in order to do the audition. And we shot the trailer. I know I sent the trailer to you, David, and you can see the trailer on my IMDb. When you go to my IMDb, it comes up automatically on the top. And again, all based on true events. The difference is this is a film that takes place during the Holocaust. It's a coming of age story, but it's an inspirational ending. You walk away feeling inspired. I'm not going to say why. I'm not going to give away anything beyond that. But it is going to be beyond powerful. I say this I don't say this with any braggadocious attitude. It's the kind of film that I could see ending up at the Academy Awards. It's that powerful. I've got somebody that's, that I met that's a guy that helped open the Irish consulate here in Austin. He's got contacts all over the world. We have a few people that are very interested. And what he told me is just on the trailer, there have been multiple people that were brought to tears just on the trailer. So you can imagine how powerful this feature film would be. So it's a $10 million budget. If anybody knows somebody that wants to invest in that, certainly get in touch with me on Facebook or Instagram, M. Edenbaum, on Facebook, Michael Edenbaum. And I can get you in touch with our other producers. I'm one of the lead roles in the film as well as one of the producers. So I think it's going to be such an inspirational film. It's not going to sugarcoat anything. It's going to show you the horror, and it's going to show you the beauty of this story. So I'm very proud of it. So check it out on my IMDb, and you can watch the trailer. And I think you'll see why I talk about it the way.
Yeah, Michael, did you? I believe you sent Jesse that trailer, didn't you?
I sure did.
Okay, well, I'm just asking him now that if he's going to play that trailer at the end of the show so people can see that. Like we did for Chris Sagler in Anderson County, we showed that trailer. I'm sure he can insert that into the show. I'm messaging him now. And so I just wanted to do a quick station identification break, Michael. Again, my name is David Peace Monroe, Marilyn Monroe's nephew, actor, soundtrack, also the grandson of prolific pioneering Hall of Fame legendary motion picture director Jack Stubbs, best of friends with Walt Disney, and Elizabeth Taylor's manager, giving you greats in Caesar and Cleopatra with Elizabeth Taylor as well. You can pick that up on Roku TV, Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, Meta TV, and the NCG Television Network in Lethbridge, Canada. Tremendous project with global distribution. You can also just Google search that, folks, at jessfm.ca, www.jessfm.ca, or ssh101.com. That's every Sunday morning show, the Marilyn Monroe Show, only on Just TV. Voted the #1 television station in Lethbridge, Canada. Tremendous project with global distribution. And so, yeah, that Holocaust is going to be great. And so now I want to dive into my films that are upcoming that you're going to be starring in roles, which are predicated on true events now as well. So I want to let all the fans know that Brad Pitt went out and produced a film about my aunt entitled The Blonde back in 2022. Somebody gave him $22 million to produce that film. That was predicated on fiction, folks. My film, my biopic family perspective film, Marilyn the Truth Forever Monroe, are predicated on true events, folks. This is a story that's never been told before. Whatever, conspiracy theories that surround her death, we'll never know. Nobody will ever know. And so it won't contain any secrets or anything like that, but what it will contain is the documentation of my family who raised her underneath their roof, who hired her mother as their housekeeper and found out that she had a little girl in foster care and adopted the girl for her because they felt sorry for her when they discovered this beautiful little blonde girl, and them being, fabulous directors. She was 11 or 12 years old at the time. And my mom was like 6 or 7, and my Aunt Patty Jean was like 8 or 9. Right. So it was 3 girls in the house, and they were inseparable. They were like sisters. Her mother, she suffered from a lot of tragedy in rapid succession. You see, her father committed suicide, which would have been Marilyn Monroe's, Norma Jean's grandfather, and her son passed away. So the mother had a lot of mental problems from tragedy that happened in her life in rapid succession. And so I asked my grandmother, I said, Gladys Pearl, and she says, well, grandson, she says, there was that lady, she was a nice lady. She was a hard worker. We felt sorry for her, so we gave her a place to stay and hired her our home. And, it was just, she, had these episodes where she would go into full-blown conversations with her father, who had apparently hung himself and committed suicide. and the son that passed away when he was 15 years old. So she would go into these, full-blown conversations. And so as a result of that, she was unable to hold any type of employment, or give her a place to stay, because she'd get a job and then she'd lose it because of these spells that she would have, these episodes. And so she had a job at a clipping company and had some contacts in the motion picture industry, and they felt sorry for her as well. They said, it's a great lady who came up from Mexico. She's had a hard life. She's a hard worker. She's a really nice lady. And, they felt bad. They thought, well, what if we could, get her a job? She was working in Eagle Rock as a house cleaning lady for, I think it was an old folks home or something like that. My grandparents told me. And so, they thought to themselves, well, if we could get her a live-in domestic worker's job, at one of our contacts in the motion picture industry, that would remedy their situation, And so my grandmother was looking for a housekeeper during that time, and one thing led to another, and she auditioned, she applied for, the job, and my grandmother hired her. And so she lived at our home, and like I said, my grandparents felt sorry for her, and she got this daughter, so they adopted her from the state, and they were her adopted parents. You see, her mother had trouble and mental problems. The father was never around. He was like a one-night stand. So my grandmother raised her, was her mother, okay? Her adopted mother, the person that takes care of you and raises you. Wow. The Chanel number 5 that, Marilyn Monroe, that was what my grandmother wore. The dry brut champagne that she loved so much and drank every day, and I think she took a bath in like 200 bottles of it at one time. That was the good stuff that my grandmother called the good stuff that she would break out on Thanksgivings and Christmases. All of the food that she loved to eat were dishes that my grandmother served at our family table on a regular basis. And if you watch her movies, her facial expressions, the way she acts, the way she talks, is exactly how my grandmother was in real life. You see, my grandmother was a very classy woman. And to have to live in fear your entire life should be a criminal offense with a stiff penalty. Every time a car backfired outside my grandparents' home, my grandmother would jump out of her skin. Wow. Imagine having to be a lad like me and watch your grandmother go through that and say, what's going on with grandma, She'd lose sleep at night. We would drive to, the market, and she'd be looking in rearview mirrors and things, just paranoid, her whole life. My poor grandmother, she was married to a legendary film director in Jack Stubbs. He was Elizabeth Taylor's manager. They went to entertainment parties out at Catalina Island with the Wrigley's chewing gum. My grandfather booked shows with Mickey Rooney, Jimmy Durante, Bob Hope, Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra. The list goes on and on. He knew everybody. We were classy people. We were the pioneers of the golden age motion picture industry. My grandfather was a legendary film director who created ideologies that have been followed by Hollywood filmmakers to the tune of multi-billions of dollars in profits in the box office on an international level. Captain America in the Marvel Universe, that's an international project. Tor, the original bombing of Pearl Harbor, the American movie classic. The most accurate war film ever created in the history of the motion picture industry, and is like a blueprint for war films. Guys like Steven Spielberg had to look at that film to create their viewpoints and opinions to create Saving Private Ryan, another tremendously accurate war film. So you see, as my grandfather's pioneer motion picture industry, it was my grandfather, Walt Disney, and Mickey Rooney. They referred to those fellows as the Three Amigos back in the day. Right. So my biopic family perspective film, it's a fine line of what I release and talk about on my show, and you'll see on my Facebook platform information that proves I'm her nephew and our grandparents raised her. But there are certain names and events that occurred. For instance, the location of the home that we lived in when she was in our care will not be released until I create the film, you see. So that is my inherited intellectual property, and that film is being made. I've got an entertainment attorney. I've got a litigator. Next month, as a matter of fact, Michael, we're going to be shooting the proof of concept trailer for this biopic family perspective film, Marilyn, the Truth, Forever Monroe. I have the entertainment lawyers. It's all set. I've got, proof of concept. I've got copyright, and I've got fair use in place. It's all done, all the paperwork signed. It's a done deal. So we're going to make this film. It's going to be a blockbuster project, and it's something that Marilyn Monroe fans from around the world will love to see. It's the true history of her life and my family that's never been told before. Her death, the circumstances surrounding her death, stopped us from ever coming forward, never saying anything about anything about her, but we raised her. That's all public information now. The Pentagon has voted into, or the Senate has voted into the Pentagon's budget full disclosure about some of these projects that are conspiracy theories, and we don't know. We don't know, and we just want to make our film about my family, my family's life, and give her rest. Give her rest, and give my family the credit that's due. We raised her underneath our roof. My grandparents put her in acting, song and dance, and when she blossomed into a fabulous actress, we took her out to those entertainment parties out on Catalina Island with the Wrigleys, and introduced her to the Wrigleys. They bought her house out there, fell in love with her, and then the producers at 20th Century Fox, they looked at her, well, she's a baseball apple pie and Chevrolet pinup girl, you see, and so we've got to build her character up, and it won't look good in the public's eye if, they know that she's been in foster care and has a mother who has mental problems. And so they very carefully lied and scripted her life history, which the actress agreed to, and they changed her name from Norma Jean to Marilyn Monroe. So you're going to be starring in a role in that, and I'll give you your pick of roles, Michael, because my grandfather, they didn't make a lot of money in motion picture industry back then, but they made money in booking of those big fancy sit-down gala dinners, right, where my grandfather would have Jimmy Durante and Mickey Rooney, his client, and the Drummer Boy Routine and Grand Piano, and they would have these big fancy sit-down dinners where all the other entertainers would pay like $100 a plate or whatever. That's where they made their money at. Right. So in this biopic family perspective film, there's going to be portrayals and roles of Frank Sinatra, Bob Hope, Bing Crosby, Jimmy Durante, Walt Disney, Elizabeth Taylor, Judy Garland, Raquel Welch, my Aunt Marilyn Monroe, everyone that my grandfather worked with in the true life history of my family is going to be told, and it's going to be portrayed in this film, and it's going to be a blockbuster project. So I was just kind of looking at you, Mike, and thinking that you kind of look a little bit like Dean Martin to me. What do you think about a Dean Martin role?
I'm good with any of those guys, and David, I gotta tell you, the iconic image of Marilyn Monroe, it's timeless. I spoke to an actress recently, and she's probably in her mid-20s, and she said, I'm obsessed with Marilyn Monroe. This is a 25, 26-year-old. So, that tells you everything about,
Has she embodied my aunt in any roles on stage or have any experience?
This is somebody that's, just kind of starting out. But the point of me telling you this is, when you talk about this, it's happened in the 50s, but there are people 25 years old that are still just amazed by, who Marilyn Monroe was and her image. And that's pretty rare. So to be involved in a project like this is, I think this will be one of the classics. So I would love anything that you see I would fit in, I would happily accept.
Yeah, it's going to be a fabulous project about big family perspective film, the truth that's never been told before. Give my family credit and give her some rest. And have all the Marilyn Monroe fans with all these conspiracy theories be put to rest as well. You see. And so, yeah, that's going to be a great project. That house that we grew up in when she was in our care is still standing. It's been remodeled a little bit, but I will not give out the I won't show anybody where it's at until I make the movie. Or things like that, and certain names in my family. So I'm going to move on. We have the other project I'm creating is the Monroe Universe Justice League, similar to the Marvel Universe. And what that is my grandfather is the godfather of the Marvel Universe. He gave birth in the original canon in Red, Brown, and Captain America. So that ideology is my inherited intellectual property, and I have fair use of that. Marilyn Monroe is my inherited intellectual property, her image. I have fair use. I have copyrights. Everything's been filed. We have lawyers, entertainment lawyers. It's all set. So the Monroe Universe Justice League is going to be similar to your Marvel Universe films. And that will be a series as well. You see, with all new and exciting images. This will contain all of my grandfather's images. He cast Andre the Giant as Sasquatch in the $6 Million Man, so I have a Sasquatch in there. I'll have a Captain America in there. I'll have perhaps a sea monster from Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Right. Perhaps I'll have some of those crazy Japanese guys that were, suicide bombing and, the warships and Tora. There's all kinds of ideology that is going to be new and exciting that I prepared to, kind of mix it all up together, man. All these different images is going to be great. So I've got a lot of stuff to work with.
I'm a big believer in manifestation and, lots of books and articles. And this is not a joke. Yesterday, this random reel came up on my phone, and it was an old interview on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson with Dean Martin. And in fact, I just saw that randomly yesterday, and then you just mentioned that. It's like, okay, universe, I'm listening.
Yeah. Well, we used to go to a steakhouse in Glendale. Now, my grandfather was more of a family type of guy. Dean Martin would only work with a certain handful of actors and actresses. Those were my grandfather's actors and actresses that he worked with. Dean Martin was a close family friend. My grandfather, they used to go over to Mickey Rooney's house all the time, and in fact, my Aunt Marilyn Monroe was dating Mickey Rooney back in 1949. So we all ran around together like a family. We just didn't do, projects or work together, but, we were a family offset as well.
David, can I throw in, this just hit me. All of these legendary, your stories are amazing, but I have a story that fits into your stories. And a very good friend of mine, in fact, the guy that I was watching, a musician friend of mine, last night, I was telling you I was at a show, he was a musician in LA back in the 80s. And he worked a private party in Elizabeth Taylor's house. And he was a bartender at that party. And he said that he saw Elizabeth Taylor with Roddy McDowall. This was after the Planet of the Apes. And Roddy McDowall was kind of sitting on the ground, and Elizabeth Taylor was petting his head, like a puppy. But there was a loving relationship between the two. It's exactly the kind of story you're talking about. So I thought
that McDowell fellow, my dad used to run around with him, man. They used to go to the bar together and stuff all the time. My dad drove a big pink Cadillac Eldorado, and he was a pimp and a cocaine dealer for the Kennedys and other big celebrities and dignitaries and things back in the day. And my friend Silvio Seamack is going to play the role of my father, and he's shooting a film in Norway right now. Silvio Seamack, he's one of the greatest legendary martial artist stuntmen in the world, and he looks like my dad. So these, different actors and actresses that are going to be portraying these roles actually look like the actual players that they're going to portray. So it's going to be great, man. I belong to Martial Arts Hall of Fame. You can see me in Master Ted Gambardello's 66th edition of the World's Greatest Martial Artist, standing in there with my my late master, who was like a father to me, Grandmaster Harold Diamond of Congo Do MMA. He was seen in Universal Soldier with Dolph Lundgren, and also with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Also, he was in the famous stick fight scene across Sylvester Stallone in Rambo 3. Wow. He passed away last year back in May. And so his murder is still under investigation as well, or Did I say murder? Yeah, his death is under investigation. So this is what I want to throw in before we throw the trailers, Mike. This is called Nature's Grace, folks. Nature's Grace. As you can see, Nature's Grace right here. I don't make, I'm not claiming what it does, but I'll tell you. Okay, so I don't make any claims or anything like that, but IV1 is an advanced vitamin supplement that may assist with relieving symptoms associated with disease, folks. This stuff right here, I take it with orange juice every morning. And as you can see on the side of the bottle, there's a universe going down into a cup or a bottle, because this is not from our planet. This is something that I've given to people that have tried it, that had stage 4 cancer, that are now cancer-free. I've given this to personal friends that have had lupus for many, many years. They've taken this as directed. They're now lupus-free. It's, eradicated cancer for my friends who are on their deathbed. It's eradicated lupus for my friends that, there was no hope. So this is called Nature's Grace. It's called IV1. You can order that by going to the Nature's Grace website, or just Google IV1. IV1, folks. This stuff right here is, I like to call it liquid life, or the vitamins of the gods, because that's what it is. And it may assist you with relieving symptoms associated with disease. And so if you order this and you've got cancer or lupus, there's a pretty good chance that, if you take it as directed, that it'll eradicate what's wrong with you. I have legendary guitarists. I have all sorts of people in the motion picture industry that had stage 4 cancer. They had lupus. They took this stuff, and now they're cancer-free and lupus-free. It works, folks. I've got proof. It's legitimate, tangible, verifiable information that this stuff works. You can purchase this stuff for $300 a bottle from me right here. And 2 of these, you take 2 of these right here. They're both 6-week supplies, so this would be 12 weeks, right? My buddy took 2 bottles for 12 weeks. He had stage 4 cancer. He had a big cancer tumor that was in his bladder, getting ready to kill him. He took this stuff, and he says, Dave, I couldn't urinate for a couple of days, so I went down to the emergency room, and they did a CAT scan, and they had discovered that the IV1 had went into my body and discovered a large cancer tumor in my bladder and broke it up. So what this stuff does is it breaks the membrane of the cell, and then the cancer cells fall over and they die. So that's why he couldn't urinate, because this cancer tumor was inside of his bladder, and he had to wear a catheter for about a month and clean all the cells out. But he's good as new, and now he's cancer-free. So you can pick this up for $300 a bottle from me. You buy 2 of these for $600, you're good to go. It has saved and eradicated my friends from stage 4 cancer where there was no hope for them. My friend had cirrhosis of the liver. His liver shrunk up to the size of a silver dollar. No hope for him. He did this for 12 months, and it regenerated his liver back to a full, bloody, healthy liver, folks. That's verifiable, tangible information, legitimate, and you can talk to these people who have used this, and it's worked for them. So you can pick it up for $300 on here. From me, $300 a bottle, $600, you perhaps cancer-free with my vitamin supplement. What a deal, huh? Okay, and I'll also have some of these Team Monroe hats, folks, are in production. These will be for sale on upcoming shows to help raise money for my Bioptic Family Perspective film, Marilyn the True Forever Monroe, and my Monroe Universe Justice League series versus the Gods of Destruction in the Monroe Universe begins, folks. We're going to show Michael's trailers here at the end. Jesse's got a couple of them, and we're going to see if we can squeeze those in. Mike, thanks for coming on the show, and tune in next week. I believe I've got Silvio C-Mac upcoming. He's in Norway right now shooting a film, so he's absolutely fabulous. One of the greatest stuntmen and martial artists in the world. He's going to be portraying the role of my father on the show. So you can expect to see him and more fabulous guests upcoming on the Marilyn Monroe Show. Be sure to tune in every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to the morning show of the Marilyn Monroe Show with your host, David Peace Monroe. You can Google that at jessfm.ca. www.jessfm.ca, ssh101.com, and you can stream that live on Roku TV, Apple TV, Fire TV, Android TV, Meta TV, and the NCG Television Network in Lethbridge, Canada. Tremendous project with global distribution. Mike, thanks for coming on the show, and be sure to look up Mike on his Facebook, his Instagram, and go on to Amazon Prime and rent Michael's movie that's available, W's Promise. It's going to be absolutely fabulous. Be looking for In God's Hands, Anderson County, Dead Wives Club, Stickler Lake Resort, and Stairway about the Holocaust. This is new and exciting films that are upcoming. Michael's a blockbuster, actor, producer, and we're going to play his movie trailer now. Thanks for coming on the show, Mike, and folks, thanks for watching the Marilyn Monroe show today. God bless you.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Looking forward to seeing you, Mike.
As well. I'm looking forward to seeing you
in the rosy near future.
Babe always talked about
all right, we
doing
appreciate Mike. Thanks for coming on the show.
I never knew that he would actually take action.
I'm afraid it just happened. No. God only knows why he's letting this happen.
I know about these labor camps. They send people out there they're never seen again. There's a war coming. You must escape to America.
I am your father. Listen to me.
I'm going to cut this off, Mike.
If you stay,
I'm waiting for him.
You will die.
Yeah, go ahead and log out. He's going to play your trailer.
All right. Thank you for everything. Appreciate it.
All right. God bless you, Mike, man. And I look forward to seeing you in the rosy near future of my film.
I just don't see him being capable
as well.
My
Thanks for
name
everything.
is W. Roundtree.
Yes, sir.
And
Thank
I'm
you.
an attorney.
And thanks, folks, for coming on, tuning into the Marilyn Monroe show. We'll see you next week.
So long.
You don't have to be scared of me.
This is one of the most compelling cases I've ever seen.
There isn't a speck of forensic evidence against my client.
We need to find out all we can about Mary Meyer. Raymond's facing the death penalty, and the government is determined to get it.
I want to show you something. So Mary knew JFK. She was his friend, lover, and closest confidant in this world.
What I'm talking about is an assassination.
Why were you there today?
Your job is not to determine the threat. Your only job is to prove that it wasn't Raymond Crump.
If you felt you had suspicions about him, why didn't you stop and make sure no harm came to her?
You got the prosecutor by the throat. Just squeeze.
There is an innocent man who needs help. I am appeal to you, not as a lawyer, not as a black woman, but as a human being.
There isn't going to be an appeal because I'm not going to lose, and that's a promise.